This bundle is about how to have textbook-like features in a very understandable way. And we had a process this summer that we are using, and I want to share that with you. Here is a bundle written by Jan Pearson in July, and this is a sample of what we're talking about. We followed a guideline for this project, and we wanted the bundles to read like an interactive textbook where chapters and sections would have numbered headings. We would have headings that had a 28-point size, and the print should be limited to 2 or 3 dark colors. We want the primary print to be black and normal. Important text would be dark maroon with bold underline and using heading 2. Now, the red, of course, is to call attention to it, but the bold underliners for those students who might be colorblind, and the heading 2 are those visually impaired who are listening to the book, so that they have an idea that this word stands out. And we also had special messages in deep blue using heading 3. We tried to use Arial type style because it worked on most devices. We tried to stay away from other type styles. So here's the first basis I want to show you. So if we look at this bundle, one of the things you'll notice first that I haven't talked about is that we're using a orange hidden text for teachers to read that students cannot see. And so whenever you see the orange text, those are teacher instructions. It's kind of like having a teacher's edition within the bundle. We are using the standard introduction form, but here's what we're talking about then. So we have headings. We have 20 font print. This is Arial again. You'll notice that the lessons are numbered, which I think is very important. And so this is what we're talking about when we say it has a textbook-like feel to it and has should feel very much like a textbook. Let's go back for a second and look at some more of the bundle guidelines. Illustrations, captions should be included. What we don't want is anything to be sitting out there that has no, it's just standing alone with no instructions. Also, these illustrations should have been approved for reproduction and given credit. So we have a whole thing about Creative Commons. Now I'm going to include this document with this bundle so you can go to Creative Commons and see what that's about. But the idea is that we don't use any copyrighted material and that we have permission and show that permission or that give rights to the person who produced that. Multimedia comes with an introduction and information, whether it's video, PowerPoint, wiki, web, whatever. And we always want to have some kind of student follow-up, some kind of reflection on that work. Let's take a look at that for a second again. In our bundle we're using here then, you'll notice we're talking about number sets, and this isn't much of an introduction, but it's saying watch the video below for sets of numbers. Now you'll see then there's a follow-up with, again, one of the things we're trying to do is not just have video information, but to follow that up with print information, reflecting or looking at that again in a different way. So here's a picture, and notice that here we're saying below real number chart is another way to understand real numbers. So we're talking about this chart below. Why is that picture there? And notice that we talk about hints. And so here's a document they can use, and we're talking about and introducing that document here. Again, we have a lesson 1 and we have a heading. This is an activity. So again, we're trying to make sure that this is as understandable for that student of why things are there. In looking at our document, it talks about also repeated elements for consistency. Headings, glossary, assessment, reflection, wrap-up, important information, vocabulary words highlighted, and in the case of bundle locks, making simplifying things. gives it a cleaner look so the students don't see this great big long piece. And so again, going back to this bundle, you will see the repeated elements of the headings. Let me go back up here. Lesson 1, headings, repeated elements of glossary terms and highlights. Again, this. And then we have instructions. And so it says click on the number to go to the activities. And so here's an activity. Now what we have, I've noticed here, because we would like for these to not be so isolated with one type of device, we're saying here's something for iPad users, here's something for computer users. Many times the instructions, the hidden instructions, will have instructions for those folks. If there's a good app or something like that for an iPad, the teachers will see that there so that they can put it into their own activity. So here the student can go, and again, another thing we want to see is a type of interactive activity that students can use to check their knowledge again after they've done something. And so the other thing we've said in our design is that we want high interest elements. We want lots of white space so that it's not all pushed together with small print. Use of charts and graphs and maps, and you've seen that so far in this particular bundle. Interactive activities, which we just saw, and multimedia when appropriate. We don't throw multimedia in just because we found something. And we talk about no lone elements. Nothing sits out there, a picture or a graph or anything, without some type of information about it. Okay, so going back to the bundle. So if we have an assessment, of course we're heading that up and letting them know. We're giving instructions about the assessment before the assessment, and then we'll give it again in the assessment. And again, the idea here is a way for us to keep checking on the student and for the student to also check on their own knowledge. Now notice we're going into another lesson. We have a new heading. It's lesson 2. And again, we're at the introduction. So there's no piece of understanding, there's no misunderstanding of where we're at and what we're doing. Teachers can say, please go to lesson 2 introduction, and the students would know what they're talking about. Also, again, you'll see more organization here. It, again, looks like a textbook. Now here we have the following song may help you remember the rules. And so we can click on the notes to listen. So there's instructions here. And again, trying to make it look nice. And so we have a video that they can use. Again, notice teacher instructions where there's iPad users versus computer users about the next thing that they'll be doing. And so here's a series of activities for iPad users and computer users. Notice it looks nice. There are some pieces here that have that sort of thing. The other piece you'll notice is that we're looking at remediation. So if they didn't understand, we want to send them someplace to help them get more information so they can come back, and if they weren't good at these activities, did not understand them, then here's some remediation to help them out. And so in our document, we do talk about constant assessment, whether it's a formative or informal self-assessment, but being timely after lessons so that they have a chance to know whether or not they understand it, and we know. Constant remediation and extension instruction bundles. We like to have not only interventions but separate bundles that help them go to areas where they can extend their knowledge. The last thing I'll mention here is that one of the things I really want teachers to do in these bundles, and I think it's a good thing to do in any bundle, is to have more interesting interactive type activities that you can take advantage of with My Big Campus. For example, having a discussion where you ask students to talk about what, an interesting thing about rational numbers, or to maybe make a lesson themselves and attach it to an activity where they explain what rational numbers are to show their understanding. More interesting activities that allow the student to work. Thank you, and that is it.